Welcome to the fellowship. My name is Adam Hawk. He is Ryan Engle. And as the Bible says, folks, ask and you shall receive. We asked for a star-studded leaderboard at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and we got one. We'll get into that. Something no one asked for but received anyway. My Oscars picks on last week's podcast. How did I do? I'll let you know in a moment. And one thing I asked Ryan Engle to do over the weekend against his will, watch an episode of Full Swing Season 2. Did I receive that? We will find out. But first, spring recreational soccer season is here, and my wife and I, in the spirit of the Oscars, win the award for dumbest idiots in all of Southern California. Because we signed up both our kids, which means our lives for the next 2 months is a bad double mint gum commercial. Double your displeasure, double your lack of fun, double your obligations by being really dumb.
Isn't it funny how our entire country just completely subscribes to juvenile soccer? It's huge in this country. It's everywhere. Every weekend, everyone's doing it. And it's like the one sport that kind of goes nowhere. You really have a very minute chance, not that getting in the NBA you have a big chance either, but, you know, there's other avenues in the sport of basketball, the sport of baseball, the sport of football. It's like soccer's like, yeah, they sign a couple big guys from the other side of the pond and then come over and try to make it look exciting, but it's kind of a dead-end street, if you know what I'm saying.
You know, you had me when you said, why do we put kids in sports when they're ... And I thought you were going to say there's no chance that they're going to make it because you could have applied that across all sports. But then you got really specific with soccer and you lost me.
Soccer goes nowhere.
Nothing goes anywhere.
The other things, there's industry and infrastructure. If you're like a famous ex-USC alumni athlete, well, I played football there. No way, who's your coach? Oh, yeah, you want to get a job at this marketing firm? If you're like, yeah, I played soccer at USC. It's like, cool. The dead-end street. I'm not dogging soccer. I'm sure it's a great sport. I'm sure people like it. Isn't it interesting how heavily invested everyone is in it, and it just goes nowhere?
No.
I think it's very interesting.
It's very obvious. It's obvious because soccer requires the littlest amount of equipment and the littlest amount of skill.
It's kind of like the marathon running of sports.
Here we go.
Put those stickers on your car. AYSO.
The reason parents sign their kids up for soccer in masses is because of how easy it is for a kid to learn soccer. Here's a ball. Here's a goal. You're done. I dare you to try to explain football or baseball to anyone, no matter what age they are, if they've never seen it before.
Well, there's basketball. That's like hand soccer.
Anyway, yesterday, it is 12 noon Pacific time, Sunday afternoon. Daylight savings time had already taken an hour away from the morning. I'm all set to sink into the couch, watch an A-list final round of the Arnie Palm, and what do you know? I forgot. I got to get 2 kids ready for soccer who have 2 games at 2 different fields, which means the Miller High Life I had just cracked got drain poured down the sink. I'm sprinting to my wife's Hyundai Tucson.
You didn't even passionately chug that?
No, I did not.
Wow.
Didn't have time.
Very disappointed. Keep going.
I'm sprinting to my wife's Hyundai Tucson to rip out a car seat, get it in my Corolla, throw shin guards and cleats on 2 kids, load up 2 vehicles that have to go to 2 different soccer fields. My wife took my daughter. I took my son. I had to coach yesterday because at my son's age, they divide the teams up and play 2 games at the same time. So I'm coaching him and 3 other snot-nosed brats. One kid won't look at me, let alone respond. Another kid is eating grass. Another kid keeps asking me how they painted the lines on the field. And my kid is asking me every 5 seconds if he can watch YouTube on my phone. Do you want to take a guess at the final score of yesterday's soccer game?
No, I just want to make a statement.
Go ahead.
Right there, you have some of Fullerton's finest, folks.
This happens in every town across America every single weekend.
I don't think the kids in San Juan are eating grass, dude.
Oh, they're just surfing and turning into assholes like their parents. Listen, 22-0.
You guys lost?
22-0.
You lost.
The other team scored 22 goals in 40 minutes.
Wow,
and we scored
and the Coach of the Year award goes to.
Yeah.
How checked out were you coaching that team?
I wanted to mentally check out at some point, but you're just so embarrassed because essentially you're on this stage where the parents of the other 3 kids are watching you, and they're like, are you going to get our kids out of this 22-0 hole at any point.
Did they sniff a goal?
They did not.
Wasn't even close.
It was over and over again, our team kicking off right to the other team and the other team sprinting down and scoring a goal.
Wow.
Over and over and over again. So that was a barrel of laughs. Glad we're paying for this. And every single game this year for one of my kids conflicts with the other one. So this is how our Sundays look until May.
At that point, given the amount of interest, effort, awareness, and heavily lopsided performance, what's the point? I don't think he's ready. You should have had him sit on the couch and teach him the golf swing on the Arnie Palm while you're chugging Millers. I think maybe next year.
You will realize this as you get your daughter into any kind of activity. There is a giant learning curve, and everyone has to go through it that first year. And then the second year, something starts to click, and then they figure out that they like it because they start to get good at it. This is all part of the deal.
Folks, you're listening to an expert. He's got it all figured out. Don't let that 22-0 loss fool you here, folks. That's nothing. That's just a blip in the radar. Adam's got it figured out. Listen closely. This is some parental advice from the coach of the year, Fullerton's finest.
Okay, and the guy who's ridiculing me right now doesn't have any kids in sports yet, has never coached, and is coming at me.
I'm not coming at you.
You're making fun of my expertise in this.
No.
You're questioning it.
Your assumptions are not my problem.
All right. You know what? We're going to move on. You're an idiot.
Great job out there this weekend, Coach.
On a high note, yesterday with the time change and the 75-degree weather and the daylight lasting into the 7 p.m. hour, it had me feeling like it was summer. I turned to my wife and said, it kind of feels like the start of summer today. Did you get that feeling at all yesterday?
We went to the beach.
Wow. So did it feel like summer to you?
No, but it felt nice. It felt like early spring.
It reminded me of a topic we discussed on this podcast last year, how everyone gets so excited for twilight golf when the time changes, and we both argued that twilight golf is like trick cereal. It's for kids.
Yeah.
No family man with a job is playing twilight golf, and that's not to say twilight golf isn't amazing and that the golden hour isn't the best. It's just unobtainable because it's such a blatant middle finger to your wife and your kids and your obligations as a contributing member of the working class society. In what reality does a husband and a father who is gainfully employed tell their wife, hey, you know that expensive hobby that I have that keeps me away for 6 hours and brings me back half drunk and 100% useless? Yeah, instead of doing that before you wake up, I'm going to start at 3 p.m. today and get back at 8.
And be an absolute fucking pile.
Right. And that's cool, right? You don't need me during homework time or sports practices or dinner or bath time or bedtime, right?
They kind of need you to teach Johnny how to kick the ball around. Do some reps, you know?
I'm about to come over that table. There is nothing like a guy who thinks he has everything figured out and he has literally tried none of it. That, my friends, is Ryan J. Engle for you.
Hey, Adam, I got a question for you. On one hand, tell the viewers, the listeners, everyone at home, how many times have I been wrong?
Not enough.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, okay, You're not wrong.
Come across that table because I'm on the right side, baby.
You're wrong about this. Anyway, Twilight Golf, 3 words, yeah, frickin' right.
I played a lot of Twilight Golf when I was 20.
I have a better chance of booking a tee time on Mother's Day than I do playing Twilight Golf.
I'll tell you what, that's why my favorite golf of the year coming up, we have our 16th annual Nation Desert Classic at beautiful Indian Wells Country Club. It's the driving force and the inspiration and the complete ethos of this brand and the movement of the fellowship. My favorite time of the year. And what's great about it is we rent a house on the course for the week, and the days after the tournament, my wife and I swim with Palmer all day, and then mom and dad come and help out and watch her in the afternoons, and we go out, just me and her, in the cart, sneak out, play 6 or 7 holes in the twilight, and I'll tell you what, folks, it's the greatest thing on earth, because it looks cool, feels cool, but deep down inside you know this ain't going to happen until next year. Twilight Golf is a special treat, and I know it's for the birds, so when I do get it, I soak it all up, but It's just not realistic, Adam.
Right. It's not realistic. Speaking of golf, Scotty Scheffler absolutely dominated on Sunday and quite simply ran away and hid with the Arnold Palmer, his second victory at Bay Hill in the last 3 years. So clearly he likes the golf course. And for a guy who has struggled immensely with the putter, he sure seemed to have it working because yesterday he led the field in strokes gained putting, which, when you're also leading the field in strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained on approach, and strokes gained around the green, you're not going to get caught ever, and he wasn't.
I love Scotty Scheffler for a number of reasons. The main reason is we're in this era of golf where everyone thinks they know what is good about a golf swing, and everyone's obsessed with getting fit, getting lessons, getting data, having their videos, finding their angles, working on the geometry and science of the swing. Rory's got this beautiful swing, and look how great he is. And then here comes Scotty. His feet look like James Brown during a live performance, and he's just whipping it all over the place. Guy's the best tee to green ball striker on tour by a fucking mile. His swing is nowhere near video perfect. And there he is, number one golfer in the world. Anybody taking videos of him? Putting him side by side at your club champion fitting session? I don't think so. So I love that about him. Tee to green. Throws the mallet in this week, and he gets hot with the putter. You know, sometimes when you go to a change like that, you get that initial love at first sight kind of streakiness.
We call it honeymoon confidence.
Yep. And the question is this going to be a honeymoon confidence, or is this going to be on the rig? So we'll see.
It's a great point that you bring up, and a lot is being made that after the Genesis, Rory McIlroy suggested that Scotty go to a mallet. What do you know? He does, and then he wins an event running away with it with great putting stats. However, I agree with you that we still need to figure out whether this is honeymoon confidence or not, because everything works until it doesn't. I firmly believe that everything with golf is about what's between the ears, not between the hands. The entire manufacturing industry has made a living off of the hoax of having people believe that if you switch what's in your hands, you can switch your game. And that's just not the case. With golf, it's about what's in between the ears. So maybe Scotty saw something that he liked looking down at. Maybe that change helped him out. The question is, how long will this last? We've seen plenty of guys make changes, and then what do you know? 6 months later, a year later, they're making another change. Will Zalatoris didn't just wake up one day and become a broomstick putter. That guy tinkered with 15 different grips and 15 different putters before he got there. So hopefully Scotty found something, hopefully for him, hopefully not for the rest of the field, because if this guy can putt even average, he's never, ever going to come back to the rest of the talent level. He's just that much better. He's a generational ball striker. And on a day where there were only 4 rounds in the 60s from 58 total players who made it to Sunday, Scotty shot the best of them all at 66. And I remember Steve Elkington telling me a while back that nothing feels better than winning a tournament with the best score on Sunday. So again, good for Scotty and good for us golf fans, kinda. I mean, we asked for a household name to show up at some point this year, and someone finally did. But if we're being honest in our audit, no one else did. After Saturday's third round, there were 10 players within 4 shots of the lead. Scotty and Shane Lowry were tied at the top. Wyndham Clark was a shot back. Willie Z and Hideki were 2 off the pace. And Rory, McIlroy, and Max Homa were just a couple of more back. So yesterday's final round had the makings of a pro wrestling Royal Rumble. All the best guys in the ring at the same time throwing haymakers and body slamming each other for 4 hours straight. But that never materialized. And credit to Scotty for outclassing everyone. But shame on the rest of the field for not even getting out of the men's locker room, because Scotty went on to win by 5 strokes. And in golf, that's like watching a 63-0 blowout in football. So it begs the question, are you more interested and captivated by greatness or by drama? Because Scotty was great, but there wasn't a modicum of drama the entire day. And on that day, on paper, it was looking like an all-timer. So what are you more captivated by, greatness or drama?
That's a good question. Sometimes it's nice to see somebody play brilliantly and run away with it, especially in this setting, because the drama this week wasn't any player, it was the golf course. Huge shout out to Bay Hill. I can't pinpoint it exactly, but it was in recent time, a few years ago, they started really making an effort in toughening up that golf course just for the week that those guys are in town. Up through 3 rounds, I think 9 under was winning it. That's 3 under a day. You have to play solid golf to shoot 300 a day on a tough golf course in tournament conditions. I love that. I think all the courses should be set up tough for these guys. My biggest takeaway from the week is that there were a number of tweets, definitely some frustrations, a lot of the pros talking in their post-round interviews, and they're just a bunch of whiny babies. Oh, the rough, and I've never seen the second cut this thick, and Wyndham had a little meltdown there on Saturday, and these guys, they get the most unbelievable conditions every week. They get these golf courses so pure. You just make it a little difficult for these guys and a little bit higher rough. And because they can't go out there and get 32 under in 4 days, they're going to whine about it. It just shows where these guys are mentally as professionals nowadays. They're just such babies, dude. They're so quick to whine about tough conditions. It should be tough. It's fucking pro golf.
You know who never whined about tough conditions when they were on top, and love them or hate them, and I know you have some disdain for him? Never heard Tiger Woods whining about a golf course being tough.
That's true. On top of it, how rare is it to hear these guys praise the golf course and praise the condition and praise the team that gets it in shape? It's rare to hear them talk about it. But man, they got it just almost falling out of their pocket, ready to throw it down on the table and be like, well, the rough was too long. These guys are so soft. They got someone clipping their nails for them, rubbing their back, serving them mimosas on their jet. The grit is gone. Great talents, great players, pretty swings, but there ain't no good old boys no more. You grow the rough out a little bit and you hear just a bunch of grown men whining. It's their profession. Wyndham slices it into the right shit, and he can't get to the green, so he chops it out short of the green, and it's in a little bit of a divot, nothing in front of him, just an easy little low-running pitch, and he chunks it, so then he just slams his club in the ground, has a temper tantrum for 3 holes. You wouldn't be acting like that if Mr. Palmer was here. You'd be getting a letter, a little tap on the back in the men's locker room. You need to take your hat off, shave your face, tuck in your shirt, kid. Quite frankly, I think they're a bunch of spoiled brats.
Drama or greatness for me, when it comes to golf, since there aren't teams, I'm always rooting for the drama. There's not a guy on tour that I like enough more than the others to want to see a runaway. I want a bunched up leaderboard. I want hero shots and choke jobs coming down the stretch. I want putts on 18 that matter. I want to see a guy warming up on the range awaiting a potential playoff. If the Seattle Mariners, my favorite sports team of all time, are playing in any game, I want them winning 10-0. I don't want drama. I want the win without sweating it. But when it's a bunch of individuals and I like the game so much more than the players, I'm rooting for the game to keep those individuals close, because the closer they are, the more the stakes of the game get ratcheted up. That being said, I want those individuals to be guys that I've heard of and know and have seen more than once. So now we move on to the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass. I'm a fan of the event, but I want to say 2 things and only 2 things before the tournament. The first is this. If you watch it all this week, keep track of how many times the broadcast will remind you that Pete Dye's wife, Alice, actually designed the Island Green at 17. It's NBC's favorite fact of all time, and they will beat you over the head with it for 4 straight days. Just play a drinking game. Every time they say, well, did you know it was actually Alice who went up to Pete and said this should be an Island Green? You will be drunk as for 4 straight days if you drink to them mentioning that fact to you.
I think every now and then, maybe one signature hole on a well-designed golf course, a tournament here and there, I can put up with it. But I'm just not a fan of the gimmicky golf courses. It just looks like a board game. Looks like Chutes and Ladders. The whole thing about the 5th major, I get it that it's a really strong field. The Players doesn't seem that special to me. It's a cool golf tournament, and it's definitely a big deal. I think it's a little overhyped for my taste.
You beat me to my second point. Everyone likes to call this the 5th major. Spoiler alert, it is not. There is no 5th major. There's barely 4. And if you don't believe me, ask Brooks Koepka if he would trade his 3 PGA championships for Danny Willett's 1 green jacket, and he'll be signing the paperwork before you finish the question.
Yeah.
So there's barely a 4th major, let alone some phantom 5th. The Players is not a major. as much as Ricky Fowler wishes that it was, but it's not. Fun tournament, big names, golf holes that we all know, but it is not the fifth major. I guess we are going to have to keep updating Anthony Kim's tournament results despite the fact that no one is watching and even less people care. So here it is, folks. 76, 72, 65. Those are Anthony Kim's 3 scores from this past week in Hong Kong. You could say he's trending because instead of finishing DFL, he finished 4 spots above DFL. And instead of 3 rounds over par, he only had 2. Obviously, the Sunday 65 sticks out, but I don't really know what to do with that because he needs to fire that every single time out to win. I will say this. Forget that Live is a total joke, and I hate that I actually have to go give them a website click so I can see AK scores. Forget that they only play 3 rounds, and having guaranteed money and no fans takes a lot of pressure off. This is really going to hurt me to say it, but I have to be honest. It's still golf, and golf will always be hard. I don't care who you are or where you're playing or what you're playing for. Golf is undefeated. It will not hesitate to embarrass you. And after 2 weeks back, I don't think Anthony Kim has been embarrassed. Sure, a fistful of 76s isn't good, but that's not embarrassing, especially for a guy who has taken 12 years off. I take 12 weeks off from golf and I forget how to hold a club. This guy took 12 years off, hasn't fired an 80 yet, and just wrote 65 on his card. So despite hating Live with every fiber of my being, my take on Anthony Kim after 2 weeks is, nice job. For real, nice job.
That's fair to say. I'll say this. I'm not investing much in that 65. The fact that Liv has no cut, he showed up. He needed to have a hot start to be anywhere at that golf course as far as the leaderboard goes. He blew it, and had there been a cut, he would have missed the cut. You get to Sunday, he was probably dead last going into Sunday, if not close to it. You're playing pretty free. That was probably the most low-pressure professional 65 you could have. Yeah, it was good. Get some birdies on there. Not a lot of squares. Good for the confidence building forward. But, I mean, let's call a spade here. He really had nothing to lose and might as well fire at some pins, get some feels going. To see him in a pressure situation or when it counts, we haven't seen that yet. I'd like to say it might be tough because he's feeling the weight of the world on him, but, I mean, I watched a little bit of it just to check the scores when I had a few minutes during the weekend with the family. That place looked like a library. A lot of crickets vibes going on there. It just lacks that buzz. You think back in the day on a Sunday and you hear the buzz of the Goodyear blimp ahead and like the fans rustling around, people holding up signs like be quiet, and like you just feel the magnitude and the pressure of the shot like in the moment. You watch those guys and you hear some EDM in the distance. It just doesn't feel that packed with pressure, man.
I'll buy lunch today if you can tell me what EDM stands for.
Electric dance music.
Damn it.
Yeah. We used to call it techno.
Yeah. Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
It was called techno.
We used to call it techno. That will go on your gravestone, sir.
I'm not wrong. So when did it change to EDM?
I don't know. I'm not proficient in the genre or subgenres of electric dance music, techno, house music, dubstep.
You weren't paying attention when that pacifier was in your mouth while you're off in the wilderness with your best friends?
Take it easy. We will continue, I guess, to keep tabs on Anthony Kim because we have to. And if this was Liv's goal all along, was to keep people that hate Liv keeping tabs on it, then Liv, you've won this round. Question for you. Did you watch an episode of Full Swing Season 2 like I asked you to over the weekend?
I watched half an ep. I couldn't get through it.
The first one?
Uh-huh.
You couldn't get through it?
Couldn't get through it.
And why is that?
I'm sure it's probably entertaining to some people. Just like anything in this world, when you're somewhat part of a business or industry, you know a little bit about the people and the insight and what's going on. It's kind of hard to like be truly entertained by it. For one, it's recapping last year, which is weird. We already saw that. We already know what happens. Everyone kind of painted this picture that this thing is this cool insight and behind the scenes, in depth. It shows these players' personalities. And you're watching it, it's just more of the same. They're barely showing these guys doing stuff that we haven't already seen. If you're not a fan of golf or you don't actually know even just a little bit about these players, if you're flicking through Netflix and you come across this thing, it's got to be the most boring thing you've ever seen in your life. I can't even watch this.
So I watched the entire first season. I haven't watched any of the second season. The first season had its moments, but again, not that compelling because it's so remedial, and worse than that, it's all dated information. So I can't really carve out the time to watch season 2 because they're documenting a merger with Liv that took place 9 months ago. We were there. We lived that merger in real time, and guess what? That was in June of 2023. We're in March of 2024, and nothing has changed. So how am I, or how are we, supposed to be on the edge of our seat watching old news that never became news?
Well, things have changed. They're further apart.
Right, right.
There is no merge at all. And the main reason why I turned it off is they were attempting to try and paint this sob story for Rory that he's so busy. Look at all these things he has to go to and these photo shoots, and he's shaking hands with these people, and he's so outspoken in the media, and he's taking on this whole responsibility to be the face of the PGA Tour. And you're like, give me a fucking break. You want me to start feeling bad for this guy?
We got to the core of the issue, folks. It didn't take long, but now we know why Ryan Engle truly hates Full Swing.
That's not why I hate Full Swing. I'm not impressed with the product and the execution of it, but the reason why I turned it off was that. What am I watching?
The Oscars were last night. This is the Super Bowl in the Hawk House. We stock the fridge with beers, we order pizza, we take our seats on the couch with TV trays well before the opening monologue, we document our picks, we're on group text, we have bets going, and we just straight up love this show. And it goes way back for us. My wife and I have been watching the Oscars together for close to 15 years. She went to college for film study, and she's the only person I know who loves movies more than me. So this is that thing that we have where we're both equally excited. And I'm not saying it's the thing that excites us the most individually, but it's the thing we like the most collectively. Of course, the Masters is my TV viewing experience of record, but she has me put those 4 days on the calendar every year so she can plan to be out of the house. Off the top of your head, what is the thing that you and your wife like the most together? Not individually, because I would guess that your favorite TV experience of the year is also the Masters, but what's that thing where you're both equally excited to watch something together?
I don't really think we have anything other than just like shows we watch together that we end up liking, which is usually like crime or sci-fi or something. Every now and then she'll get me into one of her like reality like chick shows and we'll watch it and enjoy it. But
name one.
Oh God,
Vanderpump Rules?
No, we've never gotten into that together. I think one was like where the Down syndrome kids fall in love.
Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah, that was a good show. I like that. She knows I'm not going to like invest in the super trashy stuff she watches.
What about Below Deck?
Yeah, I've tried. I can't get into that.
All right. So anyway, we've got the Oscars. The show itself last night, somewhat lackluster. Jimmy Kimmel is not Ricky Gervais, so there weren't any memorable jokes.
How many times has that guy hosted it?
He's on like year 6 or 7 in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
How does he keep getting the gig?
He works for ABC and has the flagship show on ABC.
Do people really think that guy's funny?
Yes.
Crazy.
People also more absurdly think Jimmy Fallon is funny. The fact that he not only sits in the same seat that Johnny Carson sat in, but also sits in a seat that Conan O'Brien was kicked out of is the biggest crime against rabbit ear television.
Jimmy Fallon's like the guy who you're out on the town with your boys. You bar hop from one spot to the next and you end up over at the Japanese restaurant that has karaoke in the front. A little bar area, and you're doing karaoke and everyone's having fun, and then the guy who's running the karaoke, it's his turn now. And he starts singing, and he's a little too into it, a little too loud, a little too attention-getting, and you're like, hey, pal, isn't this karaoke for the patrons? Or is this your little sideshow that you need to puff your chest out to? That is Jimmy Fallon.
Very well said. Kimmel, while I am very tepid towards him, don't have an opinion one way or the other, He's not that kind of guy where you remember a joke from his monologue and take it to the water cooler the next day. And Will Smith didn't bitch slap Chris Rock, so there wasn't a crazy moment. And even though Al Pacino did a really awkward presentation of the Best Picture winner, it wasn't exactly the La La Land Moonlight mix-up. However, I did go 5 for 6 on picks, which I gave on last week's podcast. 5 for 6.
Did you win any money?
I did, and we'll get to that in a second. Oppenheimer won Best Picture. I got that. Chris Nolan won Best Director, despite not being the second Best Director of the year. I got that. Cillian Murphy won Best Actor. Well-deserved. I got that. Emma Stone won Best Actress, which she should have. I got that. DJ Randolph won Best Supporting Actress. Got that. But in the biggest snub that I've seen in 15 years of watching the Oscars, Mark Ruffalo did not win Best Supporting Actor. Instead, they gave it to Robert Downey Jr. for a performance no one will remember, not even him, so I missed on that. 5 for 6 ain't bad, but it should have been 6 for 6.
And he got it from Oppenheimer. Right?
Correct. Do you even remember him in that movie?
Dude, that is exactly what I was just going to say, is when I saw that this morning, that he won Best Supporting Actor, I was like, I just watched that movie on the plane for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I do not remember him in it.
Yeah.
I literally don't remember him. So I Googled him in the movie and looked at images and started flicking through and like saw him on the thing, and I was like, didn't even know he was in that movie.
Right, and it wasn't because of makeup or styling. It was because it was a very forgettable role. I can't imagine a worse screen to watch Oppenheimer on than a airplane screen.
What are you going to do, Adam?
What can you do?
What can you do? Folks, I didn't have headphones on because I never bring them on the plane. And my wife rolled her eyes at me, and I watched it on the tiny screen with subtitles.
You read the movie?
I read the movie.
On a 4-inch screen.
On a plane. Drinking Dewar's and soda.
And last week you said, I love that movie.
I did love that movie. I can't wait to see it with sound. You love to hear it, folks?
Well, do you? Because
I think I will.
Final thoughts on the Oscars. As I predicted, the show was a 3-hour celebration of Barbie, which was very annoying. Didn't need to hear one song from the movie. Definitely didn't need to hear 2.
Help me understand, because I'm sure you are all snobby and think I'm not like capable of understanding a good movie or whatever.
Yep.
I clearly know when a movie is a good enough movie to be Oscar nominated. When I read Oppenheimer, I was like, this is going to be in there for sure. You can definitely taste what movies belong in that kind of world. When we tried to get through an hour of Barbie, I was just like, I can't even watch this. This is so fucking bad. The fact that it was nominated and the fact that there's this much attention to it, can you help me understand why? What is it about that it's even in that award show and they're even having performances from it?
It's a combination of many things. It's a confluence of events. You take Margot Robbie, the highest paid, most attractive actor in Hollywood. You pair her next to Ryan Gosling, where the same can be said. You give them a script that takes a very problematic doll and turns that into a feminist icon and a feminist movement. You insert Kate McKinnon for some comedy. You throw Billie Eilish in with a song, and you totally go insane with your set design where you blend surreal with reality, and you perfectly match CGI to real film. And what you get at the end is this summer blockbuster that just checked every single box. And it checked enough boxes politically and in pop culture that now that they've expanded to nominating 10 films, they threw Barbie on there. And they threw Barbie on there for political and marketing reasons. It was a movie that made a lot of people a lot of money, and it made a lot of people really happy. And that's why it was an Oscar-nominated film. If this was 5 years ago and they only nominated 5 films, it would not have been in there at all.
So you think it was, as a movie, as a film, it was well-deserved to be there?
No. But then again, I'm a purist who only thinks that 5 pictures should be nominated. let me digress back into my final thoughts. I thought we were going to do this segment in 3 minutes. We're going on minute 12 right now, and I appreciate your candor and your participation. I thought you would have just zoned out and dozed off, so thank you. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
John Mulaney was the most hilarious presenter I have ever seen, and he should be the new host of the Oscars going forward. I want to get that take on record. Donald Trump live hate tweeting the Oscars was the most Donald Trump thing ever.
Love it.
My wife and I, in the final bit of Oscar news, won a $30 gift card to Grubhub from my brother and his wife, who we beat with our picks. And I was able to see Poor Things in the zone of interest before last night's show, so I ended up watching 9 of the 10 Best Picture nominations in time for the Oscars, which enhanced the viewing experience, but really pissed me off that those 2 films didn't win more awards because they were fantastic. This concludes our Oscars talk.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Hey, on our way out, I would like to thank you. You designed 2 of the best capsules Nation Golf has ever seen. The Ben Nation capsule, an homage to the Hawk Ben Hogan, not to be confused with Shock Jock Hawk, the real Hawk, Ben Hogan. We have an homage capsule that you designed to Ben Hogan, and then we did a Master's Cheese Sandwich capsule. Couple of t-shirts, couple of hats, and a visor. 5 items online right now, nationgolf.com. The best stuff you've ever designed in the t-shirt and hat category. And in 72 hours, we are sold out of most of this stuff, but there is still some left. And I think besides being surprised at how great this stuff looks, and I'm talking to you, the viewers, you will be surprised at how reasonably priced it all is. So if you haven't already, go to nationgolf.com, check out the capsules, and grab some. The Masters is coming. Go get your Masters shirt and your Masters visor. Great job on this collection, Pards.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I know you're reading your phone that entire time. What's on the phone right now? What are you checking in on?
I was checking the time.
Boy, there is nothing that makes you feel better than when you're complimenting someone and they're quite literally looking at their watch.
What do you want me to do, Adam?
Pay attention to the podcast.
Okay. I've been paying attention this whole time. I thought you were going on a sales bit, so I checked out. Thank you for liking the stuff. I hope Ben Hogan doesn't sue us.
All right, you have a heart out. You have to go get your dog to the vet, and I've got other stuff to do. So with that, we will tell you right now that we'll see you next week.
You love to hear it.